2024 has begun and it is going to be a great year for Irish whiskey because there's a lot of distilleries now that are releasing their own stock or they're releasing nice age statement versions of their own stock. But which whiskies should you be looking out for? Well, I'm Matt, I'm the Whiskey Nerd, and I'm going to tell you 5 distilleries you should keep an eye out for in 2024 to get some really great Irish whiskey. First up, it should be no surprise that I'm going to recommend Culloden. Culloden are a great little micro distillery here in Ireland, and they're putting out some fantastic kind of single bottle releases under the Baron Tool kind of series. They're single cask releases that you can get from them, and they are fantastic. This was probably my favorite whiskey of 2023, but if you can't get their single casks, they also have other whiskies from their sourced stock. This is from the Rum and Raisin range. Now, they recently redesigned this just at the end of 2023. It's now coming in a 700ml bottle rather than a 500ml bottle, and it's getting a wider distribution. I think it was actually recently awarded like one of the top kind of single malt whiskies by, I think it's called the 50 Best in New York. So it's very good whiskey. If you can keep an eye out for their Culloden, I put a picture of what the new bottle looks like now because it's more kind of shaped like this. It's kind of rounder and taller rather than this kind of almost like hip flask style bottle. Very good whiskey. It is sourced, it's not their own stock, but they're blending it together. They're aging it in their rum cask, so they're making some very good stuff. Brendan Carty, the head distiller, fantastic kind of mind on him on what he wants to do with whiskies. So in 2024, if you can find anything from Culloden, either from their sourced stock or from their own single barrels, definitely give it a try. Next up, and keeping in theme with the idea of a very good, great creative head distiller, this is a distillery called Blackwater. Blackwater, they're small enough, new enough distillery down in the southern coast of Ireland, and they're making some very good whiskies, and they've also been making some sourced whiskey releases. So the sourced whiskey they've released under the Velvet Cap range, and there'll be a review of this Velvet Cap whiskey coming out in the next couple of weeks, but right now I'm talking about their own stuff, the stuff they're releasing under the Blackwater kind of label. I'll put a picture of it up there. They've recently released a whiskey called Pete the Magic Dragon, which is really nice, lovely whiskey. I only tried a small bit of it. I didn't get a bottle for myself, unfortunately. It's all sold out, but I did manage to get myself a bottle of this. This is their Pusheen Irish Spirit. Very good. I've talked about it on the channel before. If you want to know more, leave me a comment down below and I'll explain more about Pusheen. Very good whiskey, but this here is called Malt Namara, or like the sea malt. And what they've done with this is they actually malted it with seaweed. So I was talked to Peter Mulryan, the head distiller of Blackwater. Very good guy, very creative guy. He got, I think, something like 500 kilograms of seaweed, dried it out to make about 100 kilograms, and then malted and smoked the barley for this Pusheen with that. I think they also soaked the barley. They got it wet in like water with the kelp, with the seaweed, to really bring that sea kind of influence right through from the malting into the drying into the smoking, and it was really tasty. I got myself a couple of bottles. I think you can still get this on their website. I'll leave a link to that down below, but very good, very creative. Their whiskey, like I said, they've just released their own bottling. It should be around 4 years old, maybe heading to 5 years old now, so I expect to see in 2024 more releases from them, so if you can, keep an eye out. Distillery number 3 is another distillery that is going to be releasing their own stock in 2024. I'm talking about the Boan Distillery. This is their Solstice release. This is the very first bottle they ever released. It is 3 years old to the day. I haven't yet opened this bottle because I'm saving it for a special occasion, but the Boan kind of company have been releasing whiskey under the Whistler brand. I reviewed these bottles before on the channel. Very good whiskeys, but I think in 2024 they'll be bringing out their own whiskeys, because if this was 3 years old in 2022, this is going to be, that means they've got like whiskey that's now about 4 years old, heading towards the 5 years old as we move to 2024. So I'd say they're going to release some of their own high-end premium Irish single pot still whiskey during 2024. Definitely something to keep an eye out for. They've got a lot of kind of cool creative technology in their stills. It's not just like a person like smelling the whiskey and making cuts. They've got a lot of machinery there that make sure they make very consistent, very precise flavors, and they make exactly what they want. They also made a lot of what are called heritage mash bills. So they took recipes from years ago, hundreds of years ago, and they made them today with that modern technology to kind of create well, like a heritage, like a living history of different whiskeys. So I expect to see some of those whiskeys coming out in 2024. Definitely keep an eye out for them, and their own kind of source stock releases under the Whistler brand. Very good whiskies. Next up is a brand that has been around for a while, but they're not a distillery. They are a blender, or they're a bonder. I'm talking about JJ Corrie. This is a great little company. I've talked about some of their whiskies before on the channel. Louise McGuan, the kind of head bonder, the head blender at JJ Corrie. Very inventive, very creative, and makes some very, very nice whiskey. I don't think there's ever plans for them to like make their own distillery and go down the line of like actually setting up a whole operation. Instead, what they're doing is they're bonding whiskey. They're taking whiskeys that are made by somebody else, they're finishing them in different ways, they're giving new flavors to them, and making some very, very good whiskies. There's a couple of other companies in Ireland doing this as well, like W.D. O'Connell, very good, Daithí O'Connell, making some great stuff. JJ Corrie, a little bit more kind of wider field. You should be able to find it in more locations, but definitely a very good brand to keep an eye out for because they make some very inventive, tasty whiskies. Next up is an honourable mention, because I just kind of don't think you can talk about whiskies to watch, inventive whiskies to watch, without talking about kind of the Irish Distillers portfolio. The Irish Distillers, if you're not familiar with them, they're like the big company in Ireland. They make Jameson, Powers, Paddy, they make Middleton, Redbreast, they make Green Spot, they make all those kind of big whiskies. And they also have this brand, the Method and Madness brand, and that's why I'm singling them out for like an honourable mention, because they're pretty inventive. They make some different kind of whiskies. It's like a small micro distillery within the big Middleton distillery, where they kind of come up with different flavors, different malts, different mash bills, and aging them in different woods. And this one here, the Gariana wood cask whiskey, is going to be reviewed, and that whiskey review will come out very soon. But this is a very tasty, very different whiskey, and if you're looking for something that should be available pretty much anywhere in the world, because it's got that Irish distillers like backing behind it, like it has a huge distribution. Something to keep an eye out for will be the releases from Method and Madness, because they're going to be a bit creative, a bit different, a bit fun, and just something a bit special maybe. And lastly, for Irish whiskey brands to watch in 2024 will be Dingle. Dingle have been around for a long time. They're probably one of the oldest of like the new breed of Irish distilleries, and they have been around for about 10 years old. Last year in 2023 they released a 10-year-old single malt. Like, it was a single cask release. That means they've got some stock, not a huge amount, that's 10 years old. So the other distilleries I was talking about, they're coming on stream with stuff that's 4 years old, 5 years old maybe. Dingle, 10 years old. You're going to get some age statement releases from Dingle in the not too distant future. Maybe in 2024, maybe in 2025, but they're definitely going to be coming up with some nice older Irish whiskey releases. And in the meantime, they've got this here series, the Dingle Wheel of the Year series. It's this kind of, I've reviewed all the whiskies so far in the series on the channel. I'll be reviewing the final whiskies as well, but it's this idea where they're taking different Celtic holidays and releasing whiskies to kind of match up with those holidays, to kind of just celebrate different kind of holidays, different kind of whiskey maturation styles as they transition to that kind of like older age statement whiskey releases. They've also got a pretty wide distribution. I know you can get Dingle whiskies in America, in Australia, in Japan. You can get Dingle pretty widely, pretty far afield, so it's definitely something to keep an eye out for their future releases in 2024. So there you have it. Those are my picks for whiskey distilleries and whiskey brands you should keep an eye out for in 2024, but maybe you've got different ideas. Maybe you've got other brands that are coming on stream or that you think are maybe sometimes overlooked. Let me know down in the comments below what you think people should be keeping an eye out for in 2024. Like I said, I'm Matt, I'm the Whiskey Nerd. I put out whiskey reviews on Wednesdays, I put out whiskey cocktails on Fridays, and every now and then on Mondays I put out videos like this. So if you want to see more, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Sláinte.